Building this water lily bulb, I had no idea the adventure I was about to embark on. The process of transforming my pool into a pond. Here you can see the water lilies mixed with some loam, covered with some rock to weigh them down so that they'll stay underwater. Boy, they really grew fast. We did not expect how much space they were going to take up in our basement. The water was beginning to turn green, indicating to us that it was ready to have us put plants in there. Lots of marginal plants were ordered, and we had to basket them up. Put pea stone on top of them with some loam. It's important not to use compost because this will feed the algae, which I later find out. We placed the plants into the shallow end on the stairs. Most of these marginal plants can really only be in the water a few inches. The algae was really starting to grow. We didn't really know what we were getting into, but everything seemed healthy and happy as it was growing. We needed to create some water circulation, so we hooked up some sump pumps to create water flow. I didn't plan on introducing any fish this year, but we saw these 10-cent feeder fish at Petco and we couldn't help but save them. We also introduced a plecostomus to help control the algae. The water was relatively clear, but all of a sudden we got inundated with frogs. They came from everywhere. Tree frogs, pickerel frogs, toads even came to mate. Tree frogs, taking on their mating colors as I came to find out, found every nook and cranny around the property. There's actually two in this photo. Two here as well, a male and female. It was unlike anything I had seen. Up until this point, we had only added plants and not added chemicals. The algae was starting to grow as the weather warmed up. I came across this pair of shubunkins that needed to be rescued. They were pretty good size, about 7 inches. Come to find out, they were going to be parents in this pond. We needed more plants, so I had to figure out ways to hang them. This was going to be our best way to combat the algae that was quickly becoming a problem. I couldn't even see 6 inches into the water. But all the plants seemed to be doing very well, so I really couldn't complain. This book changed everything for me. I learned about the importance of the food web and the ecosystem. I needed more plants. Vallisneria pondweed was an oxygenator. It could thrive relatively deep underwater and was beneficial to many organisms. The lilies continued to grow. They even started to bud up. The frogs were definitely enjoying themselves. Although the plants were really looking great, algae was really starting to become a problem. I needed to address this. Luckily, our friend Norm Schmidt came in handy and had a 330-gallon tub that we could make into an eco-filter. How do you make an eco-filter? You take a sump pump and you run it through a huge container like this. Then you fill it with crushed rock, beneficial bacteria, and plants that can act as a filter. In this case, I used Siberian iris and local pond grass. Now we had the seed set for an ecosystem. We just had to wait. Would it work? More fish. I couldn't resist. Even though I couldn't see the fish, the lilies were really starting to bloom. The frogs on lily pads surrounded by flowers was like a picturesque scene. Couldn't have imagined it. The tree frogs had tadpoles in the skimmer. We now had a new problem: heat. If the water gets too hot, we could risk summer kill, so we had to use a shade sail in order to reduce the temperature of the water. It looked awesome, but it also was functional. Increasing surface tension with fountains increased the amount of available oxygen to the fish to reduce the risk of the summer kill. Luckily, we had awesome friends, like Craig here, to help us have a bridge. Every pond needs a bridge to complete it. I couldn't believe what was unfolding under my eyes. Is this real? All the plants were thriving, and this is in less than a year. Look here, this is the beneficial bacteria biomass that's in the eco-filter. It was working. The cycles were starting to happen. The plants in here were thriving. They were filtering the water. Mother Nature was going to work. The algae was still there, but the plants were just unbelievable. Everything was really, really thriving. And then one day, Chloe came into our lives, a rescue turtle who spent 10 years in a 10-gallon tank. Well, little guy, you won the lottery.
We're releasing Chloe into the ponds. And she's gone. Oh, there she is. Buddy.
There she goes, the new apex predator of the pond. Summertime and things are beautiful. Ecofilter still continuing to thrive. Lilies still blooming every single day. Midsummer. Shade sail keeping things cool. Can't believe the scenes that are unfolding under my eyes. Finally caught sight of Chloe again. She was weary at first, but then, what about all those fish we put in? Oh, there's one. The water must be clearing up. Literally the next day, it was like, oh my gosh, fish everywhere. They got huge. And they were swimming in schools, and there were small ones. We didn't put small ones and big ones in there. They had babies. We found out that we had thousands of minnows, hundreds of goldfish. The Shabunkins had crossbred with the comic goldfish and also with the regular goldfish. We had all kinds of hybrids in here that were acting in a natural way. We had a pond. We couldn't believe it. The ecosystem was here. The water cleared up. All the cycles went through. I could almost see to the bottom. We were seeing fish every day. New babies being born constantly. A flux, a food web was here. This is the Ecofilter late summer. We couldn't believe that it had worked. We have a pond. Hard to believe that this was it a year ago. We even earned Chloe's trust. The water was crystal clear. Mother Nature had filtered our pond. The water hyacinth was blooming. The secret ingredient was diatom cultures. Beneficial bacteria in diatoms created the recipe for the seed of an ecosystem. But alas, fall came on, and the cold temperatures started to come. What was I to do? Was this pond going to survive? Time to set up a 90-gallon tank, find out what's been going on in the pond all year. Trick was, now I've got to catch them. I had success, caught some little guys. My wife Tracy caught most of them. It took me all day to catch 10, but still I have them, and these were all born in the pond. This entire tank was born in the pond. The plants grew in the pond. The water was from the pond. The fish began their life in the pond. I bet they're excited to go back out there in the spring. We caught a few more fish, so we had to get another tank. But I'd say that's better than this. We wrapped up the Ecofilter. The plants started to die back, but they're all winter hardy plants, so they're going to return next year. We tried to stay native plants because that is the best for the ecosystem around us. The fish have now entered a state of torpor. They basically go lifeless. Some are covered in some debris here, but they barely move and have lost a lot of their color. This is how they conserve their energy so that they can return to strength next spring. Have a safe winter, guys. How many can you spot? It looks a lot different, but it's still really, really beautiful. So what happened to Chloe? Tracy's eagle eye spotted her. So we had to bring her inside and get another tank. We were so happy we found her. Although she would be fine, we wanted to hang out with her through the winter and give her a nice place to hang out. This sure looks cozy, and it beats this. Hi, Chloe. The tank really took off. Notice that there's no filter in here. Compared to the other tanks, it's actually much cleaner. The ecosystem thrived inside, and a lot of the creatures were doing different things than I had expected. But outside, the frigid temperatures were still cold. But here comes springtime. The ice is receding, and it's year 2 for the pond ahead. Couldn't believe the adventure that I had, but I can't wait to see what the future holds.